Hey guys, it's Victoria, and today I'm really excited to be participating in a really big collab that's being put together by Renee. Her channel is Renee Vanna, and I will link her channel below because she's the creator of this awesome collab. I think there's about 35 people participating, which is awesome. So Renee is going to put together a playlist, which I will link below, so you can watch my video and then you can scan through the playlist and check out other people's videos. I will preface this with saying that it's not super controversial, but we're basically talking about our parenting styles and our approaches to certain topics. So if you don't agree with what I have to say, that's awesome. It takes all different types of parenting to raise all of our wonderful children. And I don't judge the way anybody else decides to raise their family. So I just ask that you don't judge the way that I choose to raise mine. So the way Renee has broken this down is there's 3 topics and then 3 questions. So I'm going to talk about each of the topics just briefly, and then I will answer the questions as they pertain to the 3 topics, because my answers to the questions are the same for each topic. So rather than answer the 3 questions 3 different times, I'll just answer them once at the end. So the 3 topics are your parenting approach to attachments, activities, and punishments. So I always sort of call myself an old school mom. So when it comes to this attachment parenting philosophy, it's not something that I really subscribe to. I do think it's funny the way in today's day and age, everyone seems to need a title for every little thing, like baby-led weaning, exclusive breastfeeding, everything has an acronym. And I just think that's sort of a new thing with this generation is everything needs to have a label. Say hi. Ugh. Hi. We're all dressed up fancy today. Yeah, it's a pretty dress. All right. I definitely do not consider myself to be an attachment parenter. We don't co-sleep other than the occasion where the child is sick or teething or things like that. We have found ourselves sort of falling into our son coming into bed with us on more than one occasion, and as soon as we notice that happening, we are quick to correct it. Sleep is a topic that I'm very passionate about. I've done a whole video on it, which I will link up here. And I believe that it is my job to teach my children how to sleep on their own. And I believe that that is a life skill, just like any other skill that you would teach your children. Some of the other topics that I associate with attachment parenting are baby wearing, extended breastfeeding, responding to every cry that your child may have, and that sort of ties into the sleep thing where I do believe in sleep training. And I try not to respond to every cry that my children have, because sometimes they just need to work through their feelings on their own. And I really want them to be able to process those emotions on their own without me diving in at every moment. As far as baby wearing, I do baby wear, but it's definitely more of a convenience factor than a bonding factor for us. Breastfeeding, I've done a whole video on that as well, which I will also link up here. And my feelings on that is that if it works for you, then that's fantastic. I've had 3 completely different experiences with breastfeeding, and I fully support a woman's right to breastfeed for as long as they want, as long as it works for them and works for the child. So bottom line, when it comes to attachments, I'm someone who wants to raise independent children, and I definitely don't feel that I am an attachment parenter. So number 2 is activities. And Renee said to just talk about how your approach is when you put your children in activities, when you take them to the park. Are you right there with them? Do you sit back? I try to let them go on their own as much as they can, but I'm probably a little bit more on the right there with them side of things. I see injuries happening, and I try to be there to make sure that they don't, although I do know that sometimes falls are necessary to learn. So I try to stay back, but I do tend to be in there a little bit more than some other people might be, especially because my children are still pretty young. Like the 6-year-old, I have a 6-year-old and an almost 4-year-old. And then my baby is almost 17 months. So with her, obviously, I have to follow along with her. But I see other people who have children around her size or age that are just like up on the jungle gym, and they're sort of sitting back. And I don't know, I just can't do it. I have to be there with her. But the older ones definitely play on their own. When it comes to activities as far as their extracurriculars, like our son plays baseball and hockey, and our daughter is now in soccer and she does dance, I am definitely a put them in and get out. I do not stay in. I feel like they do much better without me. We have definitely had moments where the children did not want to stay or did not want to go in, and for instance, my daughter with ballet, I would take her, I would go in with her, I would say, okay, mommy can't stay, and then I would leave. And obviously if there was a huge meltdown and things were escalating and the teacher wasn't able to calm her down, then I would definitely go in and remove her. But last night at soccer, she ran into another child and she was upset. So I took her off, calmed her down, got her some water, took her back out on the field and said, okay, you got to play. So I try not to be too involved. I let the coaches and the teachers do their jobs when it comes to things like that. So I guess I'm probably pretty middle of the road when it comes to how I handle the children and their different activities. And the third topic was punishments. So I'm pretty probably typical. You know, we do the timeouts. We're starting to get to the point now with our older child that we are able to, you know, remove privileges, or, okay, you can't have the tablet for the rest of the day, things like that. Or if he's really into baseball, so he's throwing the ball up in the house. If you do that again, I'm going to take the ball away. I do try to follow through whenever I throw out one of those threats. And because of that, I've learned to be very conscious of what I will use as a threat, because then you have to follow through. So I try not to use anything that I actually don't want to follow through with. For instance, if you do that again, you know, you're not going to be able to go over to your friend's house, or your friend's not going to be able to go here, or we're not going to go for ice cream. And if it's something that I really want to do, I try not to throw that out as a punishment, because then I'm going to have to follow through. And on the few times that I have done that, and you just sit there hoping, well, please don't do it again, because I really want to go. But I do try to be really consistent. I do try and reason with them. They have their time out, and then we talk about it so they learn what they did, what they can do differently. One thing that our son has been doing lately is if he is in trouble and he's upset, he'll say, "Mommy's hurting my feelings." And that hurts. You know, you don't want to hurt your child's feelings. So I have been trying to explain to him what behavior he was doing that caused mommy to get upset, and that's the reason that he's upset. He needs to look back at the behavior. So we try to focus on what he was doing. We try not to use words like, you know, that he is bad. We talk more about behavior, his attitude. We're working with our middle child right now at getting her to develop some coping techniques for when she starts to feel overwhelmed, because she does tend to escalate very quickly, and she can turn on the tears in 2 seconds. And she just has a lot of feelings. And I mean, she's not even 4 yet. It's normal. But just trying to get her to develop some strategies so that she can remove herself from the situation, go to her room, calm down. I'm going to be making some calming jars that I saw in the Purple Alphabet. I'm actually going to be doing those for a road trip, but they'll be something that she can use to help her calm down. Things like that. So that's sort of our approach to punishments. And I do believe that we need to set a strong foundation now so that they understand when they are teenagers that we're the boss, that we are the ones who say what they can do and can't do, and I want them to be able to respect that. Okay, so the 3 questions that we're supposed to answer in regards to the 3 topics. The first one is based on an article that I will link below, and it has 4 different parenting types. Now, I'll start by saying I don't really agree with this article, because it kind of makes it sound like there's 4 different types, 3 of them are terrible, and 1 of them is great, which is obviously, there's a million different parenting styles. But for the purpose of this, the styles in this article are authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and uninvolved. And I'm sure no one's going to be, yeah, uninvolved, that's me. But I will say that I'm probably more authoritative, which is not one of the more positive ones, because I don't feel like it's a democracy. I don't negotiate with my children. I mean, what we say goes, and you will do what we say, or there will be a consequence. Now, we do try and explain the reasoning behind what we're expecting, and we do try to really clearly lay out expectations so that the children know what is expected of them, and then they know what the consequence will be if they don't live up to the level that I know they're capable of. You know, we have reasonable expectations for the ages of our children. So I guess I'm kind of a mix between authoritative and authoritarian, because authoritative is basically you tell them what they're doing and that's it. And authoritarian is more of negotiating. So we're probably somewhere in the middle. So number 2, what did I grow up with, and do I parent the same way or differently? And I would say that my father was definitely more of the disciplinarian, so he would have been more of like the authoritative. And he actually did say to me the other day, I was having one of those days where I just felt like I couldn't do anything right, and the children were just all over the place. And he said, you know, you're doing a great job. And he admired the way that I do explain things to them. And after their punishment, we talk about it, how they can do things differently. So I guess in that sense, I'm doing things a little bit differently. But my parents did, if I do say so myself, a really good job with my sister and I. You know, we were never in trouble. We never pushed the limits. We basically knew what was expected, and we did that. And so they must have done something right. Either they just got 2 really well-behaved children. I mean, of course, we had our issues. We weren't perfect, but generally, we didn't get into any real trouble. So they obviously did something right. So I am trying to live up to that standard and to do things in a lot of ways the same way they did. And I'm always someone who says, when people are spewing out parenting articles and advice and how all these new rules, and do things the way your mother did them. Ask your mother how she did it, and then you do it that way, because they did a lot of things right back then. And the last question is, am I happy with the way that I'm parenting, or would I change it? I think things are going pretty well. We have pretty good children. One thing that I think we could improve on is, now that Noah's getting older, starting to throw out those punishments of taking away privileges. We haven't really had to do it a lot, but I think that you know, summer's coming up and he's going to be home all the time, so we need to start to set really clear limits. Something else that I could definitely improve on is food. I do not have good eaters, and I tend to give in more often than I should when it comes to them having more of the unhealthy snacks. And I know that it's something that I could definitely work on, but it's challenging when they don't eat. You just want them to eat something, and so you tend to end up giving into the less healthy options. So that's something that I could definitely work on. But in general, I don't read a lot about parenting. I tend to follow my gut, tend to talk to people, ask questions, use YouTube, like local mommy groups, things like that. I don't tend to read a whole lot of blog posts, because I feel like so many of them just make you feel like you're not doing it right. And we're all doing it right. We're all doing the best we can for our children. So I'll leave it there. This is getting to be kind of long. I want to thank Renee for putting this together. I really look forward to watching all the other videos. Hopefully I answer things the proper way. And hopefully you enjoyed watching. So I will see you in my next video. Have a great day.